Hello and welcome to the Cozy Mystery Book Club. I'm Kate P. Adams. I've been the author of the month for May, and it's my great pleasure to be interviewing June's author of the month, Alyn Troy. Hello, Alyn.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. So, Alyn, we've by the time people have got this video, they'll have their hands on your two books, which, having just finished, I can tell everybody they're an absolute delight. But before we go on to those, tell us a little bit about Alyn Troy, the author.
Well, I haven't always been an author. I've been a professional photographer for 3 decades. My wife's job took us out to Los Angeles for about 5 years, and I couldn't find a job out there. And it's just flooded with photography, etc. So I thought I'll just sit out on the balcony and start writing. And out of that grew a fantasy series under another pen name, and then my four series under Alyn Troy. So three cozies in an urban fantasy, and they're all interrelated.
Ah, okay.
And we've moved back to Indiana here. Well, right before COVID hit, we moved
Ah,
and came back home to Indiana, which, for those of you not in the US, it's kind of in the middle of the country, in southeast of Chicago and southwest of Detroit. Those are probably the two bigger cities that people will know.
yeah. Yeah. So this is where you're now making the magic, almost literally, actually, with the Erie Falls series. So tell us about Erie Falls and how that came to be.
Well, I have to go into another series. My first series, Mystic Brews, which is set somewhere southwest of Shrewsbury. And I know I'm pronouncing that like an American. The uh, Welsh series is set kind of on the Welsh English border. And book nine in that series, I had a character that just kept talking to me. She was one of the suspects, a klutzy um, girl in to do some bird watching. Uh, the entire book was based on a bird watching premise. And eventually the sleuth asks her, "What do you do?" And when she looked at the sleuth and said, "I am a librarian," just like Evie out of the Brendan Fraser mummy movies. But when she said that, I was like, oh, I know where this character is from. I have a niece named Allison. We call her Allie. She is a librarian and she is married to Samantha. So she and her wife, Sam plus Allie, became Sammy.
Mm.
So now, obviously she didn't do it. Spoiler alert for book nine. But I pulled her into her own series thinking she's my niece. She definitely needs a series of her own.
Mm.
So that's where it came from. We were planning a trip up to Ontario, Niagara Falls, and I was going to go see some friends up there. So I thought, yeah, we'll just set it in the Ontario area. And of course, being magical, you have to have Erie with two E's.
Of course, absolutely. And it's a fantastic town that you've created. It's the quintessential cozy town. It's absolutely lovely. And the the case of the missing tome was a wonderful, wonderful introduction to that world. How do you go about creating that little world that they live in? Where are you sort of pulling your ideas from, and how do you make it so sweet? It's lovely.
I don't know. I'm not really a sweet person, but you know, the cat occasionally comes up, licks me, shakes his head, and walks away. So evidently, I don't taste good. The small towns are, I've had two other series before this one, so it was fun building those.
Mm.
I The fantasy series that I wrote under another name was set in 7th century Wales. So I had a good basis of the Welsh countryside and mythology to build that first Mystic Brews series. The second series was set in Southern California, where I took the Santa Monica Pier, which is right there out on the bay in the Los Angeles area. I just picked it up, moved it up into a magical little coastal town.
Yeah, yeah,
And those two were kind of interrelated with the cousin of one of the tea shop employees living in California. But this one was just like, okay, I've got this cute little Canadian girl.
mm,
She's, from my family, but not quite. So how do I build it? Well, it's got to be a small town. Ontario's very rural unless you're up near Toronto or one of the like Niagara Falls, those areas. And I wanted to be closer to the U.S. border, so I started looking around trying to figure out what was in that area. And I just started looking online and went, well, I can pull like this town, Port Rowan is the next town down the road. It's a real town that we did visit,
yeah.
but I had already written the first book in the series by then. So it
Mhm.
was just a matter of I grew up in a small town. Canada's similar but different. So I'll just look on Google Maps and do the street view and try to figure out, what these small towns look like.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And of course, the big thing that often brings these small cozy towns together, it's the people, it's the characters,
Mhm.
the energy, and the relationships that they have, and there's some really lovely friendships and relationships there, and I really like Sammy's family. That's a really sort of sweet dynamic. Talk a little bit about Sammy's family and some of Sammy's quirks and things.
Well, Sammy has a klutz curse. She is unfortunately terribly klutzy. My niece is any not any more than any other person, but this was something that I'd work into her character when I built her in book 9 of the other series. Now, Sammy owns a bookstore. And if you're in a town called Erie Falls, of course, it has to be Erie Tomes with her grandfather and deceased grandmother, so widower grandfather. They own it together. Sammy got a little bit of reward money, so she's fixing her store up. And I started playing around with the idea, and I'm going to have to give a spoiler for the missing tome here, but Sammy's grandmother's spirit has been watching her. And wouldn't you know it, her husband Merlin finally starts flipping the right pages in the right book for the spirit to see the spell that she needs. But he didn't flip the page far enough. So she sees a poor, unfortunate kitty cat get smacked by a truck. And Sammy just sees his cat get smacked. It stands up, shakes itself, limps a little, and then comes over and starts rubbing her. Grandma Spirit has taken over the unfortunate cat's body.
Mm.
And now we've got Grandma in cat form, widower grandfather. They own a bookstore together. So now Sammy's grandmother is more or less her mentor, even though it's masquerading as more of a witch's familiar.
Mhm.
And the only person that can hear Cleo the cat, Grandma, is Sammy. It's a telepathic bond. Nobody else can hear it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's lovely. And I think actually what you've managed to do is, this big rule in, and it's not just cozy mysteries, really is don't hurt animals. You can't hurt
No.
animals. Don't kill an animal. But you've managed to flip that on its head, and it's great.
Well, Karen, K-E, I can't remember her last name. She did the Crypt Witch series. I'll think of it as soon as we finish the call. She did the same thing in the first one of her Crypt Witch series. The dog got hit by a car and then comes back as a hellhound. So it's okay if you bring them back immediately and it serves the plot. But
Absolutely.
yeah, we
Yeah,
we do not want to go into the John Wick universe, kill the dog, and just have revenge motivation for the rest of the book. That would be bad.
it would. It would. And actually, if you lean a little bit, we can the viewers can see. There's Cleo. Looking very, very focused. Um, now, as a fellow mystery writer, um, how do you hold yourself back from letting magic solve the mystery? I mean, the book could be about 2 chapters long, but getting that mix right. How do you approach that?
Well, my mentor, Diana Zarissa, fellow cozy mystery author, she does mostly traditionals, but we ran into each other at a author convention here in the States called 20 Books to 50K Vegas. And she sat me down for about 2 hours at the bar one evening and just told me how to write cozy mysteries.
Okay.
Now, she differs a little bit in that she gets to the end of the book and figures out who done it. I'm much more methodical, so I start with who did it and then have to, where's the clues? I've got to be fair to the readers and give them enough clues, or at least the same ones that the sleuth has. And for the sleuth to figure it out, I've got to follow that formula. You've got to have the clues. Now, that doesn't mean there's not a lot of red herrings.
Mhm.
And I really enjoy the red herrings. So just to be able to toss those in to get people off track. But I'm learning as I go. It's almost like the readers are going, oh yeah, we knew they did it. So I'm not hiding the perp as well as I should, but I'm also writing more and more on the backstory of the people in the town.
Mm.
So
Yeah, yeah. And like I say, they're a wonderful cast of characters, and I want to get to know more about all of them, not just Sammy and Courtney and that kind of stuff. So it's nice seeing little bits of them sort of coming out. I mean, based on what you were saying there about your writing, am I right to assume, therefore, that you are a plotter rather than a pantser, or a bit of both?
actually, no.
Ah.
I pants my way through. What I do is right now I use an AI assistant, but just to keep track of what I'm doing within the story.
Mhm.
For instance, the book that I just finished 2 days ago, I knew that I had 4 or 5 notes that I needed to work into the big climax.
Mm.
There was a situation of Chekhov's gun. For those not familiar, the writer Anton Chekhov said that if you place a gun in the first act, it must fire by the end of the third act.
Yeah.
And there was one of those things that I put in, and I went, oh. So I told my AI assistant, remember this, do not let me forget it as we move to the end of the book. So I would sit down to write every morning and go, hey, AI assistant, tell me what I need to remember for this chapter. And it would look at, what I said I did in the last chapter and say, well, the natural extension is this, this, and this. And don't forget you need to set up Chekhov's whatever.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm still a pantser. I'm still trying to let the series and the book speak for themselves, but I want to know that I'm moving towards this bad guy or girl gets arrested at the end of the book.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. It's very similar for me. Um, but again, do you sort of there are those moments where you sort of go, "Oh my God, that happened! I had no idea." Um,
Yes, and I've got a really big spoiler I cannot give for the book that I just wrote in one of the other series. Pixie Twist Book 8 is coming out here in a month. It goes to my editor mm, Monday. Yeah.
oh, deadlines.
So I've got to send it out tonight, so she's got it. But no, I've got a week yet. Yay. Just look at the calendar because it's with the alpha readers right now. But the backstory for the Pixie Twist thing took a really weird turn that went all the way back to book 3, and I'm just wrote book 8.
Mm.
So it's a natural progression and it fit the character, but as the character moved that direction, I was like, and then I had to get online and warn my readers. I said, when you read this book, do not consume beverages. I am not responsible for anything you spit on your e-readers.
Fantastic. Yeah, we don't have quite as much control as our readers might think we do sometimes of these characters.
They're always going off and doing something strange you did not expect them to.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, going back to Eerie Falls, so if there's is there something about the series that you particularly love, or that you would want the viewers of this video to know, to sort of make them want to pick up the books and read them?
Yes, there's one real fun thing about this series. I mentioned my mentor, Diana Zarissa.
Mhm.
At one of the author conventions, she was challenged to write a cozy in space. And she said, I will, and pointed at the author and said, but you're going to be the captain of the ship. No, you're going to own the ship and it's falling apart. So then she went to all of her author friends and started asking, can I put you in this series? And, we were all agreeable. And she said, and Troy, I'm going to kill you off in every single book because I talked about snarky talking cats as the centerpiece of my mystery for way too long. So she said, your dying words are going to be snarky talking cat. So turnabout is fair play. And as I was developing Eerie Falls and playing with the characters, there is an author that shows up. Now, I changed the name, unlike what Diana did, but it's at least a D name. We started with Deanne. She's an American author who comes to Erie Falls for a little writing retreat, stumbles into the bookshop, and she is mundane. She does not know magic exists. So the entire town is trying to hide their nature from her. And of course, she's a cozy mystery writer. And as Sammy has to solve the mystery, Deanne is her perfect companion that's totally oblivious to everything around her.
Fantastic. Yeah, and she makes a great companion with Sammy. That it's there's some great fun to work with when you've got a mundane, as you call them. And just explain what a mundane is to
A
readers.
mundane is like a Harry Potter muggle.
Mm.
So it's a real human that does not know the magical Fey world exists. Normal Fey appear as humans, but we also have pixies. We have shifters like werewolves, were sharks. And of course, with Lake Erie right there, you can have freshwater sharks. So they are the mob of the world. So the sharks and the shifters tend towards mob affiliation.
Okay.
And they run a gambling boat that looks a lot like the Queen Mary. It's a mythical sister ship of the Queen Mary, and it sails around on Lake Erie. It's mostly a gambling boat, and it only reports to the Fey authorities. It does not report to either Canadian or American. So, and it's featured in book 3 of the series, The Case of the Cursed Cruise.
That's fantastic. And to think that Canadian American borders couldn't get any more complicated, you've managed to achieve that. Brilliant.
And I did actually have to research Lake Erie is barely deep enough for a ship of that size.
Oh, really?
It's mostly 30-ish feet deep, so
Mm.
10-ish meters, but it goes down to 60 and it can actually sail. So you do have ships sailing Lake Erie, just they're more of a shallow draft ship.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, fantastic. Yeah, it's a fantastic world. And yeah, it's I can highly recommend to our readers, do pick up these books. They're absolutely wonderful. I've just finished them and I will most definitely be reading on through the series. Um, Thank you so much, Alan. It's been an absolute delight to meet you and to talk to you. And so, yeah, thank you for joining us. And yeah, I can't wait to hear what other readers think about the books. They're absolutely superb.
Well, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you. Take care. Bye now.
Bye.